All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. September 2nd, we got ourselves a decent-sized MLB slate on today, Saturday. We're going to go through each and every game. I'm going to give you my lean or leans on the games like we always do. We go through each and every game, but all my final plays, so what I'm actually going to be rolling with myself, those will be in the pinned comment, coming off of yet another positive night here. The Mariners and the Rangers are sole two losses there, are two losses. And then in terms of wins, we had the Phillies team total over 3.5. They clutch up for us. The Braves and the Dodgers over 8. They finish at 9 runs, so we had to sweat it out. And Brandon Marsh over 0.5 hits. A no sweat there. We'll take the little cha-ching cash in the back half of the slate there, guys. But yeah, we've been starting to heat up here. We've had a couple sweep nights, a couple mini sweep nights. We're positive here. Really good week and a good 2 days to start September. So yeah, shout out to us. And in terms of the next shout out, it isn't as good here. We do have the ride of the day coming in from Ralph. He had Mookie Betts over 1.5 total bases. Unfortunately, Mookie does not have a good night. The ride of the day loses. But if you guys do want to be the ride of the day, all you got to use is hashtag ride of the day in the comments. I'm picking one person's play, jumping on board with you, putting my money where your mouth is. Then I give you a shout out in the next video, win or loss. If we win, we celebrate, we cheers, we talk about it, right? If we lose, we still talk about it. You got to face the womp womp like Ralph just did. But nonetheless, Mookie had been on fire for even odds here too. I really like this spot. He just has an off night. But nonetheless, guys, again, if you do want to be the ride of the day, all you got to use is hashtag ride of the day. And before we get into the video, I do want to plug the merch we got on the channel here, guys. If you've been winning some money and you want to get some merch and also kind of give back and support what we're doing here at the channel, make sure to check out fademe.store. I have the Fade Me Blue Mountain tees on today. Go check it out. Again, fademe.store is the link. I'll link that in the pinned comment as well as the description if you do want to go pick up some merch. Very good quality, all at good prices. Definitely helps support exactly what we're doing here, guys. The more merch we sell, the better content we can bring to you guys, right? So go check it out, fademe.store. Let's go ahead and jump into game number 1 today, right after you guys hit that subscribe button and you hit that like button. All right, I think you did it. Let's go ahead. We got Washington taking on Miami. We don't know who is on the mound for Miami yet, so we don't have any lines or odds out yet, but that doesn't really matter. I'm not a big fan of this series thus far, and I'm not really a fan of this game altogether. Trevor Williams, I want to bet Washington. I want to lean Washington, I should say, just because they have dropped 2 games in this series so far. It's a 4-game series, if I'm not mistaken. And I do think that these two teams both can kind of fit into the same wheelhouse, right? You can make the claim that Miami's better, which they definitely are, but the way that they've been playing as of late, I really wouldn't, stake a nail in that and say that it's a final say there. Even when they played, I think, the series 2 series ago, Washington took 2 of the 3, right? So both these teams kind of on the same wavelength right now. I want to lean Washington, but Trevor Williams on the mound has not looked all that good. He had a couple good starts within his last 5 here, but for the most part, nothing really to brag about. 3.6 ERA in his last 5 there. In terms of against the Marlins too, he's pitched against them 3 times this season, earned run average of 3.3 against them on the season. He is letting up a bunch of hits as well and averaging a home run a game, so he kind of throws it away for me. This is probably just going to be something that I peek at potentially an under. We've seen unders or totals at 8.5 and 8. If this is anywhere around 9, maybe 9 or 8.5, I could consider an under just because I don't really believe in both of these offenses, and yesterday we definitely saw them kind of shoot their load, like 8-5. That was kind of uncharacteristic for what these two teams had been doing prior to, when they were both scoring like 1 to 3, maybe 4 runs in their game. So under or nothing for me in this game, and keep an eye on the pinned comment to see if that does ultimately become a final play. Next up, we have Oakland taking on the Angels here. Oakland just slight underdogs here at home. They're at plus 108 over on FanDuel right now. In terms of where the Angels are at, they're only minus 125 on DraftKings, which seems like it might be a little bit of a trap. But even yesterday, their odds were like in the minus 120s too. So this Angels team just not playing very good baseball. They've only won 3 of their last 7. The Oakland Athletics have surprisingly won 5 of their last 10 here. So I do think, and I meant to say Angels have won 3 of their last 10, meaning 7 losses in their last 10. And like I said, the Angels 5-5 in the last 10. Surprising to me because though it's only 500, it's like, what do you know, you're not bragging about that, right? But this is an Oakland team that just isn't very good, obviously. So this is a weird spot because I do think that the Angels are the better team, but who's trending in the right direction? Oakland pulls out a 9-2 win yesterday. I guess just by default, I'll take that value on the Angels side of things. We'll lean towards them at -125. In terms of a total, yes, yesterday was an 11-run game, but I think that both these offenses has struggled as of late. So give me the under in this game as well, under 8. I doubt that becomes a final play. In fact, I doubt the Angels money line becomes a final play, but that is very, very, very much a slight lean in terms of the total. I would say maybe with a 61% confidence level, I like the Angels in the money line spot today, but that might not be enough to lock it in as a final play. All right, now we start getting into some of the games that actually are entertaining. Here we have Cleveland taking on Tampa Bay. Cleveland, slight underdog, still minus money here at home in terms of updated odds here. -102 over on FanDuel right now. Tampa Bay sitting at -116 as favorites. In terms of what we saw yesterday, a 3-2 win for Cleveland. Very close game. Tampa Bay, I do think, is kind of on the right track, whereas Cleveland, you can make the argument they're doing the exact same thing. I like the over in this game, even with the two pitchers, you could say pitching well. Littell on the mound, or Lytle, whatever you want to call him. I can't pronounce a damn last name. I have trouble pronouncing Smith. But Littell on the mound here for Tampa Bay. His last 2 starts didn't look all that great against Colorado and New York, which they both times the Rays won the game, which is great in terms of looking at the Rays on the money line, but not great from him. He's had a decent season, but coming off of 2 bad starts. Same thing for Logan Allen. The guy was dealing, right? And then he played Toronto in his last start, which is only about 8 days ago or so. And he let up 5 runs through 4 innings. So even though these are 2 good pitchers, I do think the offense is hopefully kind of kick it into gear here. Cleveland prior to yesterday was giving you almost a floor of 4 or 5 runs for a 6-game stretch or so, which is great to see. Hopefully they can get to Littell a little bit today. And that Tampa Bay offense hitting lefties, really well as of late. 280 average, 6.5 runs per 9, and 371 on base percentage. Give me the over 8.5 in this spot. I'm also going to look at Tampa Bay. If either of these pitchers goes out there and studs it up in a good way, like Logan Allen goes out there, then obviously it's going to kill the money line because I think only one of these guys is going to be on today, which helps that over lean. I'm just hoping that Littell is on so that we can cash that money line as well if we do end up pulling the trigger on it. All right, guys, before we continue on with the slate, I do want to give a little shout out here to OddsJam. You can use the link in the pinned comment or in the description. You get 25% off your first month, but there's more. You get 7 days free. You get a free trial with the tool, or tools, I should say. Let's actually jump into OddsJam here and I can show you a few things. So here is the home screen. They have the sportsbook screen, which is really cool. Helps you compare all odds for all these sportsbooks against one another. They literally have like every single sportsbook in here too. So you can make sure you're always getting the best price on any sort of play. In terms of Tampa Bay, right? Look at SX Bet here has the best odds. They're -110. The average odds in the industry right now are -118. So you can even compare. You can even compare sort of the lines that you have on the books you have access to the average odds. Really cool. They have the fantasy optimizer, which we've been crushing as of late. This is for a prize pick 6-man. It kind of builds a slip for you. The arbitrage betting tool is really cool. This is the way, and I have a video posted about it. Go check it out on the channel, how you can make profit on a game regardless of the outcome. You use 2 different sports books to take both sides of the bet, and based on the odds, you guys are able to win either way and profit either way. And then this is a very, very cool tool. This is the parlay builder, and you know what, screw it, we'll do it here. We'll do a 3-leg parlay. In terms of a sports books, let's go FanDuel, MLB today. It's going to create an algorithm based parlay for us today. So MLB maximum odd or minimum odds, we don't really need that. Plus 200 will be fine. Let's say best parlay, yes, and show me my parlay. All right, so we are looking at Wilmer Flores over 0.5 hits, over 8.5 runs in the Cubs and Reds game, and then Batten over 0.5 hits here in terms of that. That's a plus 264 parlay over on FanDuel. We'll see if that cashes. Obviously, we don't track parlays in terms of win-loss. We are up big. I think we're up like 8 units on parlays this season. We do them on Fridays and whatnot, but we don't count them towards the win-loss record regardless, because I don't think that that's the best way to judge someone's success as a sports bettor. But nonetheless, guys, go try out OddsJam again. 7 days free with the link in the pinned comment, and you get 25% off your first month after that 7 days is up. Definitely worth checking it out. Let's go ahead and get into the next game. All right, we have Cincinnati taking on the Cubs. They played that doubleheader yesterday and split it. Cubs win game 1, 6-2. Cincinnati comes through and wins game number 2, 3-2 here. On the mound for Cincinnati today is going to be Andrew Abbott, who's been pitching solid. I don't want to go out on a limb and say he's been pitching really well. He's not getting all that much run support in his last couple starts here, but on the season they've shown up for him. He's been pitching well. We could say that, right? Javier Assad on the mound for the Cubs here. He's actually been pitching very well, surprisingly well. They're 5-0 in his last 5 starts, 1.6 ERA over that stretch here. In terms from the offense here, what we see for, I guess, night and day sort of performance in their last 10. So Cincinnati against righties, 3.5 runs per 9, 206 average in their last 10 with a 266 on base percentage. Like I said, that's the day part here is that the Cubs batting 273 against lefties, 6.8 runs per 9 with an over 300 on base percentage. We got to lean towards the Cubs in this spot. I also like the over in this spot, which is good because that was just the algorithmic play within that parlay over on OddsJam as well. But I'm gonna lean towards the over and the Cubs in this one. You're getting decent money here on the Cubs as well. Minus 115 over on Caesars. They came in yesterday, I believe, game number 1 and 2 at longer of minus 120 and minus 125, if I'm not mistaken. So some decent odds here. I do think that, Andrew Abbott is a good pitcher. I don't really want to knock him and act like the Cubs have the edge pitching wise, but offensively, it truly is there. The Cincinnati team is struggling. Next up, we have the Kansas City Royals taking on the Red Sox. Kansas City blows them out yesterday. 13-2 is the final score. While I do think that this is a bounce back spot for the Red Sox with Tanner Houck on the mound, I don't think that they are worth minus 220 odds today. Just cannot see that happening. But again, I do like the Red Sox. The total sitting at 10 runs seems a little bit too high for me. It just, again, yes, we saw a high scoring game yesterday. Yes, the Red Sox can go off and score a bunch of runs at any given moment, but they really haven't been doing that as of late. And ever since their series was technically over, right? It seems like they've kind of calmed down and stopped pushing offensively so much. So I'm going to lean towards the under as well, but I don't love this spot altogether. You have two teams that, like, what are you battling for, right? Like, what do you care about? Just your young guys maybe showing off, trying to get some wins. Like, it's not the most enticing series whatsoever for me today. All right, White Sox taking on the Tigers here. Yesterday, Tigers win 4-2. We were very close to pulling the trigger on that. I know I wasn't like overly confident in the video, but as I kind of looked at it, Eduardo Rodriguez obviously liked to back him. I almost pulled the trigger, did not end up doing it, obviously, but that would have been a nice little cash there as well as they win. Reese Olson gets the start for the Tigers today. He's going up against Mike Clevenger here. Olson's got a 3 flat ERA in his last 5. He had a really good start against the Yankees in his last start, only pitching 4 1/3. Though, letting up 1 run with 10 strikeouts. He's been striking out a lot of guys as of late. His strikeout line is usually sitting around 5.5 or 6.5 too, which is crazy because I don't consider him this like strikeout artist, but he kind of has been, so I'm wrong there, right? Mike Clevenger, 1.8 ERA in his last 5. That helps with a 7 innings pitched, 0 earned run game back. I think it was against the Cubs a couple starts back, so skews a little bit there. In terms of what he's done on the season, 3.32 with a 1.23 whip, which is a little bit more like him, right? But I still do think that this is a White Sox spot. I don't really like the Tigers when Rodriguez doesn't start. And the fact that we're getting, this is pretty much a pick 'em here at minus 108 on either side. So give me the White Sox batting righties a hell of a lot better than the Tigers are in their last 10 here. They're batting 267 with 4.8 runs per 9 and over 6 hits a game here with a 315 on base percentage compared to the Tigers, 3.3 runs per 9, 204 average with a 292 on base percentage. So just not really liking what I'm seeing there. And you do have a White Sox team that in their last 30 here rank in the top 10 when it comes to average against right-handed pitchers. So White Sox on the money line is going to be my lean. In terms of the total, 8.5. I thought about this for a while in terms of what these two teams have done in their last 10 against one another, which 8 of those games have been this season. They're 5-5 to the total, so they're kind of going back and forth, which puts me right on the fence. Like, that doesn't help me determine either way, so I'd probably end up staying away from this total. Maybe a slight lean towards the over, if anything, because if the White Sox are going to win this game, I do think that they go out there and score a few runs. Like, I am troubled to say that even because I could totally see this being like a 3-1 type game too. So I'll probably stick away from the total, but I do like the White Sox on the money line. All right, Houston taking on the Yankees. We talked about it yesterday. Obviously, I didn't lean in that direction, but I said the Yankees will always try and get up to play Houston, and they did. They win that game 6-2 yesterday, which is wild because this Houston team was scoring like a minimum 6 runs in their last 5 before that, and they dropped 2 runs yesterday. Today, pitching for the Yankees is Luis Stinkarino, who has been bad this season, but actually coming off a couple good starts. The only caveat that I do want to throw in there is that these 2 good starts were against Washington, in which he pitched 6 and 2/3, 0 earned runs, and then against Detroit, in which he pitched 7 innings and 0 earned runs. So yes, those are really good stat line. The box score looks great against 2 bad offenses, right? So I don't want to put too much weight into it. I do think Houston bounces back today. You are unfortunately paying a decent amount to kind of pull in Houston on the money line here, but I think it could be worth it. Right now they're sitting right around -175 over on BetMGM. If we pull the trigger on that, keep an eye on the pin comp because it is a lot of juice, but I can't picture this Houston team dropping 2 straight to a Yankees team, especially with Severino on the mound, who through 4 innings let up 5 runs, 2 home runs, 3 walks against his Houston team back in early August. So give me Houston on the money line. In terms of the total, it's sitting at 8.5. I like the over here in this spot. They pushed yesterday at 8 runs, and that was without Houston going out there and doing their thing. So give me the over 8.5 in this spot. All right, guys, Mets taking on Seattle, and much like yesterday, I feel like this could be some sort of a trap. Seattle trotting out Luis Castillo, who do I even need to tell you who he is, guys? The guy is an absolute stud, going up against David Peterson, who has looked better than he did probably last month, but still is David Peterson here, and Seattle's only -130, so I'm all over them on the money line, but I still smell a trap, but it smells damn good, and I think we might be walking towards it, all right? We might fall into it, but nonetheless, I do like the spot. They're the better offensive team right now by far, going up against lefties here in their last 10, averaging 8.1 runs per 9 with a 322 average and a 416 on base percentage. Yes, those are all real stats here. I do think that obviously this is just a better team, and the fact that you're only getting -130 and they're coming off of a loss to this team yesterday, I feel it's going to like fire them up a little bit more, in fact. So give me the Mariners here on the money line, who against left-handed pitchers, in their last 30, 5th in average, 1st in on-base percentage, and 3rd in WOBA. I love this spot for them today. Might even consider their team total in terms of runs here as well, because they only scored 1 run last game. I think they got to bounce back from that. Last time they scored 1 run, it was again against Oakland. They fire back with 5 runs in the next game. The offense is too hot right now to kind of pass that up. In terms of the total, we're looking at 8 runs. I feel like I gotta stay true to what my vibe is on this game, right? If I think Seattle's gonna go out there and score a bunch of runs, they're gonna beat the Mets here, I guess I have to lean towards the over, right? The only issue is if I think the Mets, whose offense has been really, really bad, barring like 1 game, I think it was against Atlanta, they dropped double digits, and that was 10 games ago. If I think that they're gonna be really, really bad, I can't rely on Seattle to score a bunch of 8 runs themselves, but nonetheless, I do still think that this is a good spot for the over, just because I think that the pace of play is gonna be pushed a little bit more than it was yesterday, which was just a 2-1 finish. All right, next up we have Milwaukee taking on Philadelphia. Milwaukee gets the win yesterday, 7-5 here. They've won the last 3 against the Phillies, but I do think the Phillies are still the better team and playing better baseball. They've dropped 2 straight, which isn't all that great, but the offense is still there, and I think the offense continues today. We cashed their over 3.5 for team total yesterday. I'm probably going to look at something similar today, and I also like the Phillies on the money line at -138. They have Aaron Nola going, who I have ragged on the channel plenty in the past, but he's been good as of late. 2.4 ERA in his last 5 years, 7 innings pitched, 0 earned runs with 9 Ks against St. Louis in his last start. Going up against Colin Rea, who has struggled to say the least. In his last 5, he's got a 4 flat ERA. From a last 3 perspective, it gets even worse. 7.8 ERA with a 1.6 whip, even on the season, allowing plenty of guys on base here with a 1.3 whip, or nearly 1.3 whip. So give me Philadelphia on the money line here, as well as leaning towards their team total over again. Until we see this offense completely cool off, I think that is a fair way to lean towards for them. And before we get into the next game, I do want to say that we're throwing out player props, prize pick slips, and everything like that over on my Twitter. I also do it on TikTok as well. But make sure you guys are following me on Twitter or X, whatever you guys want to call it. It is EvGuyBoston. I'll put it right here. I'll also have it in the pin comment as well, but it's been popping up right here on your screen during the course of the show here today. So make sure to follow me on Twitter. I'm following everyone back for the last couple days and love interacting with you guys, but go ahead and hit me up on Twitter. That's where you can best DM me and everything like that as well if you do want to get in touch. But let's go ahead and move on to the next game. We are looking at St. Louis taking on Pittsburgh here, and I'll tell you guys, I really do not care all that much about this matchup. And if you're not a Pirates fan or a Cardinals fan, I'd be curious to see your rationale as to why you'd be invested in this one here. St. Louis gets the loss yesterday. Pittsburgh obviously gets the win today on the mound. We do have Drew Rom for St. Louis and then Thomas Hatch for Pittsburgh. Neither one of these guys have sold me at all. I think, it was a couple games back, or a couple series back, Rom pitched against Pittsburgh, 6 earned runs through like 2 innings, so he doesn't really have the track record. I lean towards Pittsburgh ever so slightly here on the money line, just like we did yesterday. We had Mitch Keller. I like that spot, but here you have a team like Pittsburgh, who I do think, these two teams are fairly similar, but you're getting plus 162 odds for the Pirates in this spot, where you can't really look at that and say, okay, well, there's not value, because this St. Louis team struggling against righties as of late. 188 average in their last 10, 2.6 runs per 9. Pittsburgh hasn't been that much better, but for plus 162 odds, we got to lean in that direction. I can't really fathom the idea of taking St. Louis right now. In terms of a total 9.5, I lean towards the under. Like, I can't see these offenses going off either, so give me the under in this spot as well as Pittsburgh on the money line, but this series does not get my juices flowing. Texas taking on Minnesota here. I talked about Texas's offense starting to work its way back yesterday. They lose 5-1 here. That was with Scherzer on the mound as well. I think that this is a bounce back spot for Texas, but not for minus 192 odds. So in terms of a money line play in this game, I don't really have one, but I would consider Texas on the run line minus 1.5 for plus 110 odds. Going up against Dallas Keuchel here, who just, has been hit or miss since coming back. I think he has 2 good starts, 1 really bad start that almost makes up for the 2 good starts in a negative way. Going up against Jordan Montgomery, who's been pretty good since becoming a Texas Ranger here. And then from an offensive perspective, you do have this Texas Rangers team, batting decently against lefties, Twins as well. So give me the Rangers on the run line as well as the over 9 in this spot. I wish we got it at 8.5, because I am pretty comfortable with that number, because if the Twins continue to do what they did yesterday, which is 5 runs, I think Texas bounces back with 4, 5, 6 runs today, and we're looking at a good chance at that over hitting. Arizona taking on Baltimore, and I have to believe the loss yesterday only helps the line today. I like Baltimore in this spot. They're minus 142. Kyle Bradish on the mound for them today. He's got a 1.4 ERA over his last 5, but more importantly, the team is 5-0 in his last 5 here. Going up against Slade Cecconi, Chabruski, I don't know how to say his damn name. He is 2-1, or the team is 2-1 when he starts on the season. Obviously only getting his first start about a month ago or so. He's been good. I'm not trying to rag on him. For someone that kind of came out of nowhere, at least in my brain, and I just liked his first name, Slade, he actually has been pretty good, but I don't think that this is a fadeable spot for the Baltimore Orioles right now. Coming off a loss, they're playing some good baseball. They've lost, 2 straight games, right? So it's like, they're not going to lose 3 in a row, are they? I don't think so. Give me them on the money line. Minus 140-ish is, like I said, decent odds. Minus 142, I think it is right now on FanDuel. And then in terms of the total 9, I'm going to trust the pitching here. We saw a 4-2 game yesterday. I think that this one probably ends like 5-3, maybe 5-4, which would push at 9. I'm going to lean towards the under. I'm trusting the Slade kid, and then Kyle Bradish has been fairly consistent as of late as well. But to be clear, I'm leaning Baltimore money line way more than I am the total. If I have to play one of those, it's going to be the money line. And then at that point, go ahead and score 1,000,000 runs, Baltimore. All right. Rockies taking on Toronto. Yesterday's outcome was not shocking to me, but again, today, I'm just not looking to pay those odds. At minus 198 over on FanDuel right now is what you're looking at for the Blue Jays. And yes, they're the better team, but right now, it's just like, that is not a price tag I'm considering. So I'll take a peek at the under. We lean that way most times when the Rockies are at home, because it does cash more often than not, which is funny because everybody thinks that, they're going to score 1,000,000 runs in Colorado, which they do. That's why the line's so high. But on the season, they've cashed more unders at home than they have over. So math is math, right? But give me the under in this spot. But again, I like Toronto to win the game. But for minus 198, minus 200 and beyond, no. They're not that good of a team right now. They're not playing that good enough baseball for me to really consider that right now. You could say, oh, well, they've won 3 of their last 4. Yes, 2 against Washington, 1 against Colorado. Spare me. All right, San Diego taking on San Francisco here. San Diego, obviously, massive favorites with Blake Snell on the mound today. Going up against Kyle Harrison, who was only pitched twice this season. Blake Snell, unbelievable, right? And I think that that's the way that we have to lean. Now, it's tough to trust a San Diego team. Now, they did get the 7-3 win yesterday, but they lost game 1 of this series. What was it, 6-2, 7-2, something like that? So you can't really put too much weight into, oh, well, they won last game. Yeah, 2 days ago, they got smoked. So kind of cancels out there. But I like Blake Snell in this spot to kind of suppress this Giants team. So give me San Diego on the money line. A lot of juice to be paid. Doubt that becomes a final play. But nonetheless, I do think that that is kind of the only spot that I could consider in this game. We have a total sitting at 8 runs. Neither team has shown up yet in terms of at the same time. Game 1, like I said, it was a high-scoring game to a low score on the losing side. Winning side yesterday was 7. San Francisco only scores 3. I think it's similar today, but I don't think that the Pirates have another 7 runs in them. So with Blake Snell going out there, I think he's going to pitch well. I think this game probably is going to finish right around that like 4-2 mark or something like that. So I slightly lean towards the under as well. All right, Dodgers taking on the Braves here. Dodgers ever so slightly favored in this game. -110 on the money line for the Dodgers on FanDuel here, and then on FanDuel, Atlanta -106. So essentially a pick'em there. On the mound for the Braves is going to be Bryce Elder, who has kind of been inconsistent. A couple good games mixed in there against bad teams, but against good offenses, he's kind of struggled as of late, which makes me sort of lean towards the Dodgers. The only problem is we don't know who's pitching for the Dodgers yet. So for one of the best series, two of the best teams in the league, right? I don't want to sit here and be like, well, I'm going to lean towards the Dodgers, not knowing who they're pitching against one of the, if not the best offense in the league, right? So we'll stay tuned for that. That is the direction I'm leaning in, but keep an eye on the pinned comment for anything final in this game. We got to know who's pitching before making some sort of a claim on this one. We've cashed both games over so far, right? At 8 and 8. Now it's all the way up to 10. So they know what they're doing over here. They're like, why are we just handing out freebies to people? We've crushed these overs, and now all of a sudden it's double digits, which yesterday would not have cashed. It finished at 9 yesterday, so FYI there. I still probably like a lot of runs scored in this game, but it might be looking at the Dodgers team total or something like that, or maybe even the Braves team total. Keep an eye on the pinned comment. We want to know who's pitching before giving obviously a true read and breakdown of this game. And guys, that is all I have for you guys today. Hope you guys did enjoy the video. We will be in an Airbnb recording tomorrow, I believe, so back to the on the road setup, but that'll just be for one day. But yeah, let's keep cashing. We're on fire right now and it feels great. Obviously all good things come to an end, but let's ride this hot streak while we can. Make sure to follow me on Twitter at EvGuyBoston and follow me on TikTok at EvPicks with a Z 2.0. That's where we're posting a lot of our player prop short form content. But yeah, we'll catch you guys in the next one. All right, peace out.